Hey everybody, in this video I am going to show you a new report that is available to administrators. Normally I don't do videos on individual reports, but I think this one deserves some explanation on how to use. The new report is called Handicap Equity, and what this will show is it will give you an analysis of your handicap settings based on gross score, net score, and points won by players. So I'm going to show you for my own league how and why I think it works with my handicap settings that I have set up. And then I'm going to show you a couple other leagues, including my league from like 5 years ago, where we made changes because of an issue with how we had our handicap settings configured. So let's look at the report for this year. We have, I think, 9 rounds entered so far for the year. And you're going to see three trend lines and three averages. You're going to see in the blue the gross scoring average for the league. And of course, it goes from low to high. Then you're going to see the net scoring average for each player. And then you're going to see a points average for each player. And in my league, we play two-person team league where it's A versus A, B versus B, match play, and then we have some points set up for net score, individual and team totals. So what this shows is that as gross averages goes up, net averages go up, and we know that because the trend line has a positive slope to it. And if you remember back to your high school math days and slope, it talks about the slope of the line, slope of a graph. So when it's a positive number, this line is going up. And then we look at the point trend line, and that is going down slightly. And so this is my goal here in my league. I want the slope for net scores to be, between 0 and 0.1. And I want the point trend line to go down as scores get higher, as gross scores get higher. I want there to be some sort of incentive to play better, right? So in our league, the better you score, gross score, you generally win more points overall, but not a whole lot. The net score people, the higher handicappers, still are definitely in contention in this league and certainly have won it in the past. The problem occurs when you get either a trend line going up for the points, meaning the higher your scores, the more points you're going to win overall, um, or where it's trending down so much that the higher handicap players have no chance whatsoever. So I'm going to log into my league from, I think it's 5 years ago, and show you where this was a problem. So with this, you'll notice that the gross score trend line goes up fairly steeply. We had some higher handicap players in here. These are 9-hole scoring averages. So we have a number of players who were scoring, 60 to 70 for 9 holes. And their net score also was very high. And you can see that by the slope for the net score trend line going up fairly high and the points going down pretty steeply. Now you might say, well, I want to really reward players for playing better, and that's fine. So the problem occurred in this case because we're playing head-to-head matchups, and not every team played everybody equally. So if you played these teams where these 3 or 4 players were part of, if you played them 2 times instead of 1 time, it gave a big advantage to your team over the teams that only played them once. So that was really the problem. It wasn't necessarily, well, the higher scoring players aren't competitive. It's that playing against the higher scoring players was an advantage. So what was the difference in our handicap settings? Well, in the current league, we're taking the best 4 out of 6 scores and playing 100% handicaps and establishing a whole stroke limit of net double bogey. We changed our maximum handicap for each player, which was really the main culprit in this problem here. We changed it from 18 to 27. And that really was the main thing that we changed. 90% versus 100% probably wouldn't change it a ton. Um, but there was no point in doing that since we're dropping two of the high scores out of the last six. Let me show you a couple more examples. Now, in this league, you see that, of course, the gross scoring average trends up, always does, because we have players from low to high handicappers. But the net score trend line actually trends down. Okay, um, that's interesting. So the higher your handicap, the lower your net score. I find that to be a problem. And so comparatively, the points, the higher your gross score, the more points you're winning. And I find that to be a problem as well. In fact, this user just contacted me talking about changes to their handicap settings that are going to be instituted in the next week when their new segment starts. And the reason this is happening is twofold. One, they don't have any kind of maximums per hole. So if someone makes a 10, they're entering 10, and that's artificially inflating the player's handicap. And second, their point system is Stableford. So you're not really punished for making a really high score on a hole. That's kind of the point of it. The Stableford rewards low net scores per hole. So I think once they start dropping, I think we talked about taking the last eight and dropping the high two and then instituting net double bogey. This should bring it right down in line with what I'm seeing in my own league, and we'll make it more fair. Let me show you one more example. So in this league, this is my other league, and you're going to notice that the trend line for the gross scores is pretty steep, but I think it's skewed a little bit by a couple players. And these two players happen to be on the same team, and you'll notice their net scores are much higher than everybody else, and their points are much lower than everybody else. Again, this was a head-to-head matchup league, maxing the handicaps to 18, and this ended up being a problem as well because you'd play this team two times or one time, and if you played them once, you had a disadvantage versus the teams playing them twice. So again, what we eliminated the max handicap of 18, we increased that to 27. And if we look at that, here, gross scores, they got better as players as the years have gone on, but you'll see the net score trend line is pretty flat and the points is fairly flat. So there's no advantage or disadvantage for playing any other team an uneven number of times, which is really the goal that we want here. So I hope this helps in analyzing your league and your league settings. If you have any questions about your own report, let me know, and I can try and make some recommendations to how you're having your handicaps calculated. Thanks.